Leadership Excellence Series, which means we don't have to repeat right away. And like I said earlier, part of the learning objective of this presentation is not only to share information, but also to learn how to take an outline that we didn't create and create our own presentations from it, which means if we're repeating, guess what? We get to create a whole new presentation other than the one we've already given. These education series presentations are outlined to be 10 to 15 minutes. Yeah, that's a long speech. I'm looking at my visionary communication path and see that the longest speech I've given so far is 5 to 7 minutes. Then all of a sudden, bam, here's a speech that's twice as long. That's really intimidating, and it really doesn't need to be. In fact, all of the speeches in Toastmasters don't have to be the same length as the timing requirements. Those are suggestions, and Toastmasters isn't going to fail you for not meeting time. It's pass fail. Either you make your speech or you don't. The only time that time really, really matters is in a voting situation or a contest situation. However, I'm going to point this out. If your VPE or whoever's setting up your meeting or your mentor or anyone else in your club tells you that the timing requirements do matter, please listen to them, not me, because I don't have anything to do with this club and I don't get to tell you whether your timing requirements matter or not. So like we both mentioned, Z and I, that each of the presentations come with a slide deck, and you don't have to use those either. They're like the outline, they're a resource for you. And when you open the slide decks, you're going to see they're not very good. They're using the old PowerPoint templates that you're going to want to update anyway. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. And finally, review the outline and think about how the content applies to you, and add something specific and personal to the presentation, like you would do with any speech. If you were writing a speech about whatever, you would put your personal spin on it. You know, maybe remember a time when something happened to you that supports the point you're trying to make, of course. Think about a time when you tried to do something and it really didn't work out all that well. Or maybe it worked out fantastic and better than you thought it would. Or think about a time when you failed. Or think about a time when someone helped you, or you helped someone. Or think about a time when you were wildly successful. And keep those thoughts in your head when you think about how to customize these speeches that seem like they're not going to be customizable. I want to give you a few examples, and here's where we're going to need some of those volunteers. I talked to Z ahead of time, and she's going to volunteer some people. So here's this first one. For example, the meeting roles and responsibilities presentation in the Successful Club series highlights different meeting roles and the importance of each. Now, how would you customize that one? And I'm ready for a volunteer now.
Khan is going to answer.
Who is?
Khan.
Khan? Okay, Khan, what is your favorite meeting role?
So my favorite role so far, I have done quite a few roles, but the favorite one is the Toastmaster of the day. Even though when I was doing it the first time, I was really uncomfortable and I was all over the place, but it taught me the structure of the meeting. It kind of like is doing it in practical, because a lot of times you don't know what's going on, but that kind of teaches you what the structure is. And also is it also like kind of a leadership role, which I've never done in my life. So that was the first time I was doing it, and you feel like you are running the show and you're responsible for the whole thing, which feels kind of good. So I like that one. So for me, yeah, that one was good because you learn the whole thing, and you're all, on the stage a lot. So it's, that's the reason.
Thank you, Khan, and thank you for reading my mind on the rest of the questions I was going to ask, because I was going to ask why you like that, and I see that it helps you learn different things and helps you learn how to be a leader, and why it's important for the meeting because it keeps everything under control. And how do you prepare for that role?
For that one, what I did was I found a script. Actually, our president Megan, she sent me the whole script. So then we have like toast of the day, which I had to kind of write down what I could do. The first time I did it, I think I just wrote down what I didn't realize that I was supposed to give a toast. So I kind of made a mistake, but nobody said anything.
You never do.
Second time I was good at it, so I did the toast and all that. But overall, I just kind of prepared. I would sometimes just in my car driving and try to see, because just calling out people was kind of different for me. Now I invite this person, so that was kind of something that was different for me, but I learned it along the way.
Right, thank you. So I also want you to think about, and everybody else think about, what's something interesting that's happened to you when you've been fulfilling a meeting role, or something interesting that you've seen happen to somebody else when they've been fulfilling a meeting role. And then you take all the answers to those questions that you just gave me, why you like that role, why it's important, how you prepare for it, and then something interesting that's happened. And then you go through this project and you summarize the other meeting roles, like with a sentence or two about here's what Table Topics Master does and why it's important. Here's what the General Evaluator does and why it's important. And then your speech is basically written for you. So it's customized based on your personal experiences. And this is not the same speech that anybody else is going to give, because no one else is having your experiences and telling your stories. And I wrote, like, how did you get to this speech writing itself? It's basically you look at the outline, choose a component or two that has meaning to you, and then you can personalize it, and then summarize the rest of the outline for your speech. So we'll take a look at another one right now that might seem like it might be a little bit more challenging or maybe a little bit less challenging. And it is the service and leadership presentation from the Leadership Excellence series. And this presentation discusses how leaders serve others by offering their knowledge and skills to help others achieve their goals. The provided outline gives a section on characteristics of an effective team leader. So I'll need another volunteer.
It's Mercy.
Right.
It's Mercy, Andrea.
Okay, Mercy, you don't have to stand up. That's okay. Okay, so Mercy, think about a leader that you've had or that you remember that was really effective or maybe completely ineffective, and tell us a little bit about the characteristics that made that leader effective, or what characteristics made that leader ineffective. What could they have changed?
I've had the opportunity of working with various leaders, good and the bad and the ugly. But yes, I have worked with very good leaders who, through their guidance and attitude, brought out the best in me. With the way they treated us, wasn't just me, my colleagues as well. We were able to thrive in that environment. But I'd like to talk about a bad leader that I've worked with. I once worked under a leadership whose poor management style affected not only my motivation, affected my work. So I said I'd like to talk about that because I want to lay emphasis on that. Being a bad leader demoralizes your employee or people who report to you, and then the work won't get done. So if you have the job as a priority to get things done, I think the best way to be a good leader, to be a leader, should be aiming to be a good leader, a leader that motivates, a leader with a positive attitude. So for all of us here, don't be a bad leader.
Don't be a bad leader. Wow, that is okay. First of all, easier said than done, but that's actually a really good mantra and a really good philosophy to have. So based on that bad leader, what approaches have you been taking? What things have you changed in the way that you lead a team, or you lead your family, or in your leadership? How have you made sure that you're a good leader?
So that bad leader made me understand how negatively impacted it can be to my work and to everything around the work environment. With that, I learned how to be a good leader. And working with so many teams, I rather motivate them. I become a servant leader wherever I find myself. It impacted me in a way that positively, I would say, though it was a negative thing, but it made me a better leader. And right now, I can't really say, but I mean, I don't think I have team members who would say they're treated badly, they're not motivated. I mean, I give listening ears, and I also work with them to make sure things are working great. Yeah.
Right. Thank you. I mean, you're right. Sometimes the best way to figure out how to do something right is to figure out how to not do it wrong. So that's a really good thought. And so hearing what you said and how you would have what characteristics made a bad leader and how you've been being a good leader, that's a pretty good outline start for this presentation about the characteristics of a good leader. While these bullets on the slide don't exactly match what you said, I believe if we read the descriptions in the outline, we'd find something in there that matched what you were saying. And then all you would have to do is read the outline and find the other characteristics and kind of summarize them. And just like with the meeting role speech, you've got your presentation pretty much ready to go. And you could ask Z to get you on the schedule right now and give that speech. Not right now because
I'm ready.
I would say not right now because I'm giving a speech right now, but then maybe next time. Maybe next time you put her on the list. Is she a level 3? Can she give it now? We'll just think about that. But so I also want to mention that the strategy for reviewing the outline and finding an element to personalize and then summarizing the rest can be used for all of the modules, even the moments of truth, which according to the outline is supposed to take up the whole meeting. That's a long speech, and you're to take up the whole meeting, you don't get to do anything else. But you don't have to do it that way. You could choose one of the main topics to highlight or even summarize the rest or summarize the whole thing. I gave this Moments of Truth presentation, which helps you judge the health of your club. And I gave it to a monthly advanced club that I was in. And I summarized all the main topics. And then I created an online survey based on the fillable form that Toastmasters provides. And then I gave that survey to all the members who completed it between that meeting and the next meeting, where we all shared our opinions of our club health, which Moments of Truth, I don't know if you're familiar, it gauges stuff like first impressions and how you're treating your guests and how your education program is going. And so everybody in the club should know how the club is doing on those Moment of Truth opportunities. But after my club filled out that survey, we spent some time at the following meeting going over the survey results, and nobody was surprised, and everybody kind of felt like what everybody else thought was true about the Moments of Truth. And that didn't take up a whole meeting. It just took up part of 2 meetings. So that was a commitment to do it for 2 meetings. But still, it gave me a chance to talk about the Moments of Truth, and it gave the club a chance to think about our club health. And now I'd like to give you a few tips for updating or improving your slides. That seemed pretty abrupt. I'm sorry. I'd like to give you a few tips for improving your slide presentations, either the ones that are provided with the canned presentations or the ones that you're creating for yourself. So who's seen a slide like this? Keep your hands up. Who's made a slide like this? Yeah, I have. When PowerPoint first came out and I first found out about it in 2001, all of my slides look like that. But why shouldn't our presentations look like this? PowerPoint makes these tools available. Don't we owe it to PowerPoint to use them? No. We owe it to our audience to not use them. However, some of the tools shown here can be effective if used properly. And so the rest of tonight's presentation will look at some tips for improving our slides. So tip number 1 is avoid wordiness. When you have a big old block of text like this, everybody's going to start reading it. And when everybody's reading it, you know what they're not doing? They're not listening to you or paying attention to you. So how do you avoid this? Well, first of all, don't use big blocks of text. Don't use sentences. Use bullet points or small text to emphasize your main points. Use large readable font. 30 point or more is good, and that'll force you to not use a bunch of words. Don't be afraid of the white space in between your elements on your slides, because just because you have that doesn't mean you need to use that. And some blank space is really nice. It's kind of minimalist, and it's a hot trend today, and I hope it's a hot trend tomorrow. Another strategy I like is the 6x6 rule, and that's to say that don't have more than 6 elements in the different parts of your slide. Like, I only have 4 words in the headline, and I have 6 bullet points, and I have 6 or fewer words in each of the bullet points. And now you're counting. So I don't want you to count. I want you to believe me when I tell you what the numbers are, and then we're going to keep moving. But I do want to tell you that the 6x6 rule is not a rule, just like the guides and the PowerPoints and the canned suggestions. 6x6 is just a suggestion, and if you need one more word, go ahead and put it in there. Tip 2 is to use photos and other multimedia when appropriate. So there's nothing wrong with a slideshow that is heavy with photos or multimedia. In fact, old school slideshows were just that. They were photos or images or sounds that were supporting a presenter's message. Just make sure they're relevant and that they have a point for being there, and there's not too many of them to be distracting or overwhelming on your slides. And consider whether you really need them at all. Do photos or other multimedia really move your message forward, or could you make your point without them? For example, if I asked you a question and then played the Jeopardy theme song, is that necessary? No, it's not. It's cute. It's kind of fun, but it's not necessary. And it's actually a potential failure point in my slideshow. I do want to point out that later I'm going to break some of these rules, so just don't pay too much attention to that, or pay attention to that, and you can ask me about it later. But, if I was saying don't play the Jeopardy theme song, what if I wanted you to identify certain sounds? Like if I said dog barking, baby crying, glass breaking, would you be able to identify those sounds by me saying that, or would it be better if you actually heard those sounds as part of my presentation?
Heard it.
That's right. So here's a look at how to apply these tips to a canned presentation slides. This is from the Evaluate to Motivate module. That's a lot of text right there. And this slide isn't very visually interesting. And of course, it doesn't have to be. But if you're going to put a slide up, it may as well be interesting. Plus, this is using an old template. See that logo up at the top? That has a starburst effect, and it's all stretched out, and that is not how we use that today. So let's take a look at how we could change that. So first of all, I downloaded the Toastmasters current slide deck, and this is the burgundy one, and I've been using the blue one throughout the rest of this presentation. And instead of condensing all the text, because look, here's some text, and here's like all that text, and so you can see that it's not all represented here. So I broke it into 2 slides so you can make your points without having to lose the content that Toastmasters wanted you to have. And there's nothing wrong with another slide. And I did throw some illustrative pictures in there. Again, they're not necessary, but they do give you something to look at while I'm talking. So number 3 is use high contrast colors. Bright colors, or colors that are the same color as the background, are really, really hard to read. So you're going to want high contrast colors like black letters on a light background or white letters on a dark background, which are easier to read. If you're having trouble knowing whether or not you have a good contrast, I recommend printing out your slides in black and white. And if you can't see or read the elements very well, consider choosing different colors. Tip 4 is use appropriate animation, because too much animation is inappropriate, can make your slides look cluttered, distracted, and just overall unprofessional. I'm skipping ahead because we're running out of time. So Toastmasters Moments of Truth. Here's a way to make sure that you're using your animation appropriately. So if a good way to use animation is if you have a big blank slide like this, but if you have a list, but you don't want your audience to read your list while you're talking about it or read ahead or take notes and you just want them to pay attention to you, you can use a simple reveal. So it starts revealing elements in the list, but it doesn't just reveal them all at once, or it doesn't just reveal them one after another. You were able to control that. I also want to warn you on Toastmasters slide decks, they build in a lot of unexpected animation. So be sure that you check your slide deck and you don't get surprised with their animation, because I do that all the time, and I don't want that. I don't want to get surprised by animation. Number 5 is use interactive elements. There's lots of software that can do that. Slido, Mentimeter, Poll Everywhere. We're not going to use those today, but they use your cell phone to go ahead and click a QR code and take a survey, and it shows it real time, which I have mixed feelings about. Like, hey, get out your phone. Don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to this. But I've seen it work too. But you can also conduct less technical polls, like raise your hand or clap or stand up or sit down in response to questions. So tip number 6 is be consistent. For the most professional looking slideshow, make sure you use consistent layouts, graphics, and fonts. So presentation software gives you a lot of templates and built-in graphics. If you're making a slideshow for Toastmasters or you're making a slideshow for your company, you probably have a standard slide deck you're supposed to use. And I highly recommend you use that one, because that takes all the guesswork out of what you're supposed to be doing, and it stops you from putting a bunch of icons and pictures and fonts in there that just don't belong. But speaking of icons, you want to be consistent with that. If you've been using outline icons throughout your presentation, you really need to think twice before you put a cartoon in there, because that really looks inconsistent and it kind of doesn't look professional. And that's what we really want to be, is professional. And fonts. Oh my goodness, we could talk all day about fonts. Invite me back to another meeting and we'll do that. But they're basically thousands of fonts, but there are 4 different types. There's serif, which has the little feet or tails. It looks like a typewriter or a report. There's sans serif, which are clean lines. All the fonts in this presentation have been sans serif. You have script font, which looks like handwriting, and it's really pretty, and it's great for emphasis because it is not easy to read. And then you have your cartoon fonts and your symbols, which are great if your audience is a bunch of elementary school students or your topic is just so fun. But I would caution you not to put a bunch of different fonts, even though you can in your presentation. You can if you want some emphasis, like you really want to highlight this word, so use a different font. But designers call that a font party, when you start having all different fonts because you can, or because you didn't notice that you accidentally put a bunch of mix and match fonts. So tip number 7 is be correct. That's not correct. And so how can you avoid that? Because when your slides are on a screen or on a big screen behind you, that's not when you want to find errors like that. So a way to do that is take time to review your slides before. Sometimes reading a line out loud will help you hear an error, or reading it from the end to the beginning can help you find a missing word or a grammar error or even misspellings. And most software today offers built-in grammar and spelling tools, so please use them. Be flexible. So there's an old saying that says that if something can go wrong, it will. Last week, one of my colleagues was giving a presentation in front of a room full of about 100 people, and the PowerPoint slides were auto-advancing. Well, it turns out my coworker had cut and pasted a slide from an old presentation that had that auto-advance function on it. And then when he added more slides after that slide, that auto-advance function was applied to all of his slides. And it was a complete disaster. So how could he have avoided that? Well, practice your slide presentation before you give it. If you have the chance, practice it in the space where you're giving it to make sure that the videos and transitions and fonts work the way you're expecting them. Do you know your message? Can you pivot if something unexpected happens? Do you have a plan B, such as, are you ready to give your presentation without your slides? And I was afraid I was going to have to do that with this slide presentation, because on Friday, I was working on it and my jump drive just quit working and my computer wouldn't recognize it. So I had to either think about doing this presentation without the slides, which is kind of weird to do a presentation about slides without slides, or I had to rebuild it. So that's what I had to do over the weekend, was rebuild this, because I was trying to be flexible, I guess. But thankfully I had already sent the my outline and my slide images to Z, so I didn't have to completely come up with this again. Do you have the right number of slides? Don't rush at the end because you don't know how long your presentation will be. It used to be people would tell you, if you have a 20-minute presentation, you should have 10 slides. But that's the way we got all this cluttered, busy slides. So I think take as many as you need to present the message in the time that you have. Have you cited your sources? Are you leaving enough time for Q&A? Have you gotten feedback from Toastmasters to make sure that your presentation is up to speed? And finally, the most important tip I can give you, if you don't take anything else away from this presentation, I want you to take this away from J.P. Phillips, author of How to Avoid Death by PowerPoint.
I got your focus. Why is that important? It's important because I always have been, and I always will be the presentation. That is my visual aid.
I just love that. He said, I got your focus. You are the presentation. Your slides are the visual aid. Make sure you're confident and are clear with your message. And remember, no matter how amazing your slideshow is, people are here to listen to your presentation, not look at your slides. Here are my sources, and this is my contact information. And I think we might have time for questions. We might not. I might have just taken it all up with all my stuff. So I turn it back over to you, Z.
No, we have time for questions. I'll ask a question.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I like using the cursive type font, but younger generation don't know how to read it. So should I continue with what I prefer, or should I be aware of the audience and use the fonts based on the audience that I will have?
I think you can do a little bit of both. Obviously, you're going to want, if anything, if you're showing an audience something, you're going to want them to be able to understand it. So you would want to pick the lowest common denominator, which is that serif font or sans serif font, where it looks easy for everybody to read. However, there are a lot of cursive-y looking fonts that just look like kind of slanted regular old letters. So that might be something that you could look into. So if you're wanting to do that, look and see what kind of cursive fonts may be out there that are just barely modified regular fonts.
Okay, thank you.
Andrea,
Anyone
thank
else?
you so much. I have a question. This is Megan.
Sure.
In the canned presentations that Toastmasters provides, the slides are editable, so we can make changes as you've mentioned?
Absolutely. The slides are editable, but I still would recommend downloading the current template and just recreating them, but because you can't edit like the backgrounds or anything, so those odd colors or there's odd logo placement, you can't change that. So that would be a problem there. So you could use that, but definitely you could, if you choose to use those, which is also fine because those are the ones they gave you. You can change the text. You can delete the ones you don't want to use. You can add or replace animation or add pictures or whatever you want to do.
So there's a slide deck on Toastmasters International that we can, not a slide deck, but the particular format we need to use, and we could just transfer the information over to that. Is that what you would suggest?
That's what I would suggest. And I have to tell you, the way I found the slide deck templates that I was using for this presentation is I went to toastmasters.org and I went to that little chat thing that it has in the bottom. And I actually said, what are the current slide templates? And it gave me the burgundy one and the blue one. So I didn't have to actually look for it too hard. I asked it to show it to me.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
I'd like to interject just so that you know I will be uploading those templates to the members' resources. That way you don't have to go looking for it.
Thank you.
Look, even easier. Thanks, Z. So I see Dorothy has her hand up.
Yes, first, thank you, Andrea, for this presentation, and C for the invitation. My question is, once you go in and make those edits to the presentation, when you save them, where are they saved? Or do you do this prior to doing your presentation?
So if you're talking about the slide decks, where do you save those presentations? Or anything you download for Toastmasters, you're going to download onto your own computer or onto a flash drive. And when you make the changes, you just save them as a new file or overwrite the file that you've already downloaded. So it's just going to be on your computer or your stuff. It's not making any changes to Toastmasters templates or any of their stuff.
Okay. So is it going to be a PDF file? Is that the only way that it can be downloaded? Can it be switched to a Word doc or a PowerPoint presentation?
So the guides with the scripts in them, or those scripts, I keep calling it a script, it's not a script. So the manual that has the guide in it is a PDF, but the slide decks they download as PowerPoint files. And if you want to save a PDF or even a PowerPoint as a Word document, it can be done, but then you'll have to clean it up a little bit. But for a PDF, if you do save as Word, is usually a choice. But PowerPoint does not save well as a Word document. But you can cut and paste your notes or something over to a Word document if you want to. Does that help?
It does, because I'm more a PowerPoint person than PDF. And so when you do these presentations, they have to be. You can't do it where you're somewhere in person doing it. It absolutely has to be something presented on the screen, right?
Oh, absolutely not. You could totally give it in person without a PowerPoint, or you could give your PowerPoint in person, but they don't have to have any PowerPoints with them. In fact, if you look at the slide decks, they're not very good or interesting or very relevant to, they are relevant to what you're talking about, but they're not necessarily they are supporting what you're saying, but you could definitely get by without using those slide decks if you wanted to, because they're little bullet points that you could really reinforce when you're giving your speech.
I guess I'm kind of confused, because if we're supposed to use them, since they're there, but you're saying it's okay not to use them, right?
The slide decks are really there as a resource or tool for you to use if you want to have it support your message. But if you don't want to use it, or you can't use it for whatever reason, that's fine too.
I know I'm being a pig, I'm hogging with all the questions. And so this is going forward, because I'm working on 2 different paths right now, and both of them, I know one is on level 4 and level 5. And so since I'm at that end of that level 4 and in the middle of that level 5, am I completing those using this new way, or is that if I select a new path?
It is my understanding that is only if you select a new path. These as requirements are in your existing path, but they're not actually required at this time. But if you wanted to access them, you could. If you wanted to take a look at them, if you wanted to give them now, you could. But they only become requirements when you select a new path, unless I'm wrong about that, Z.
As of October 22nd, sorry, they are required. That's
so even if you finish level 3 and you're onto level 5, you have to go back and do them again?
No, you do not go back retroactively. No, you do not.
Okay.
Whatever level you're in, then you're required to meet those requirements with regard to the meeting roles and the educational series.
Okay.
There's and you can't go forward, and it needs to be completed in the level in which you're in. You can't complete leadership series, which is level 5 and level 4, and get credit for it.
Okay, I guess I'm going to have to pull it up and take a look at it to see. Now, one last question. With that evaluation piece where you can go in and evaluate someone for doing the Toastmaster role or the all-kind of grammarian role, is that impacted since we have to do these roles, if someone gives you an evaluation on it, does that give you the credit that you need in order to have met that criteria for doing the table topics or doing the all-counter or the grammarian?
The
Does that make
evaluations,
sense?
the evaluations are only applicable to speeches, not to the meeting roles.
Well, there's a part in there, though, where you can go in and you can click to give member feedback for the different roles.
Yes, and that's if you want to give feedback just like we do now. If someone was an excellent grammarian, you can go to Basecamp and give that person feedback directly on how well they were a grammarian. But as of today and what I know, evaluations are only required for prepared speeches and the educational series.
Okay. I haven't gone in there, I'm confessing. And so I probably should have done that before I came to the meeting.
That's okay. I think with the meeting roles, your VPE helps you keep track of that. And it's a little bit of honor system. You're not going to say you were the Toastmaster if you weren't. Shame on you if you did. Anyone else? I can't see if there's any questions in the room, though. If anyone has their hand up.
No, I don't see any hands up.
So I guess y'all, except Dorothy, we're going easy on me. So that's all I have, and I apologize for going over a little bit. I think when I was practicing this, I didn't practice for everybody to have a lot of responses in the engagement part. I practiced with my husband, and he didn't have a whole lot to say because he's not a Toastmaster. But I do appreciate you having me here today. No.
Well, I personally want to thank you, and on behalf of Southeast Houston Toastmasters, we really, really appreciate your tips for transforming our slides and the valuable insight that you gave us on how we can not only enhance the CAN presentations, but also any personal presentations that we're going to use in the future. I'll now turn it over to our president, Megan.
Thank you, Xenia. And I'll second that, Andrea. We are so grateful for your knowledge and experience. And we have a gift of appreciation that you will receive in the mail. It's a very special Toastmasters pin, and I hope you will enjoy using it. But thank you again for spending your Tuesday evening with us.
Do you want to see it right now?
Yes.
It's that world map ink pen. Can you see it? I'm holding it up in my square.
Oh, now I see it. Oh, yay. Okay. Yay. Thank you.
It's not going to be a surprise anymore now, though.
No,
that's okay. That's okay.
Getting the mail.
I want to check in with our guest Kashi before we sign off for tonight. Kashi, how did you enjoy the meeting?
I really enjoy it. Thank you for having me today, and I look forward to learning with all of you, and I'll try my best not to hide under the table when it's my turn to speak. So thanks again for having me.
You're doing a great job speaking.
Did you say your professor told you about Toastmasters?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
Which school is that? Which university or college?
She's one of the ambassadors at WGU. Dr. Amy. I don't want to. My apology. I don't want to butcher her last name. So
anyway, WGU. I was just curious as to where the information is coming from, but we appreciate her telling you about Toastmasters.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
Please come back next week. You'll see that this was not our typical meeting. This will be a completely different agenda next Tuesday, and it'll follow our usual format. But we're glad you're here.
Thank you.
I have a couple of announcements I wanted to make. Club Officer Training Round 2 has started. It goes from November 1st through the end of February. And this is for all officers as well as aspiring officers. If you are interested in any roles, there are virtual trainings available. The next one is November 22nd and November 20th. November 22nd will be our speech contest. But the next officer training will be November 20th, which is a Thursday evening, 6:30 to 8:45. It's virtual and you can sign up on District 56 website. Please feel free to reach out to me or any of the other officers for additional info. And the last item is the speech contest, which I was so excited about. I wanted to announce early, November 22nd. And I will remind you of that again. Those are a lot of fun. If you've never been, you get to hear presenters from all over the area. So I hope you'll put that on your calendar. It's a Saturday. Our next meeting is next Tuesday. It'll be a virtual meeting, November the 18th. Xenia, did you have any additional announcements?
I just want to say that with regard to the meeting roles that are now required as part of the Pathways Enhancements, I will make every effort to assign you to those roles, but feel free to start signing up for those roles in advance. It will make your life and my life easier if you start signing up for them, okay? And remember, you just need to do meeting roles in levels 1 and 2, and then it gets a little bit more detail with additional meeting roles and the educational series when you get to levels 3, 4, and 5. And then finally, I want to extend congratulations to Elizabeth Camprey. Some of you do not know her, but she achieved level 1 in presentation mastery. And that's posted on our website. And prior to that, Nicholas had actually also achieved level 1 in presentation mastery. So we are 3 educational goals from all 12 educational roles being achieved in the Distinguished Club program. So keep up the good job, girls and guys.
That concludes our meeting. Thank you so much for being here and look forward to seeing you again next Tuesday evening. Take care.
Bye, Ann. Bye, Carolyn.
Bye.
Thanks again, Andrea. Bye, Dorothy. Bye, Belle.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. So what did you guys think?
It was good. I enjoyed it. Great information.
Felt like I was in a work training.
Hmm?
Felt like I was in a work training.
No. Is that good or bad?
You.
Oh, okay.
We pay a lot of money for people to get trained for things like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was good for free.
Well, you did pay, but not as much.
Not as much.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. You are correct.
Oh, she has a website. Did you see
Yeah,
that?
that's how I found it. She would do these presentations.
HTTPS, if anybody's
Mhm.
interested, on very,
Okay,
I'll send it to
so-
everybody.
Yeah.
I'll send it to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's on that handout.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on the handout too. The one that and it was part of the meeting agenda that it was attached to it. So this one doesn't have it. I'm sorry.